the signal that found you. Before there were words, there were symbols. Before there were books, there were temples. And before your mind could name anything, there was the vibrational memory of the soul. You are not here to learn something new. You are here because a part of you has begun to remember what was never lost. For centuries, the Egyptian initiates didn't teach truth through lessons, but revealed it through silence, frequency, and sacred rituals of presence. They knew the soul does not evolve by adding layers. It awakens by removing the false. This is not just a video. It is a portal. And the very fact that you are hearing these words now means the portal has already opened within you. Key activation. Introduction. Place your hand on your heart, close your eyes for a breath, and whisper silently, "I am ready to remember." Chapter 1. The Veil of Brightness Hidden. Not everything was lost. Some truths were sealed on purpose. The ancient Egyptian technique of remembrance was never forbidden because it was dark. It was hidden because it was too bright to be controlled. Inside the stone corridors of Saqqara and beneath the great temples of Luxor and Dendera, initiates lay their bodies in stillness while their consciousness crossed the unseen threshold. It was not teaching, it was unveiling. Not adding new beliefs, but stripping away illusions until only what was eternal remained. The priests knew, when the soul remembers, it becomes sovereign, and a sovereign soul cannot be ruled. This was the true danger, not to kingdoms or empires, but to the entire system of collective forgetting. Key activation. Close your eyes for a moment and whisper within yourself, "I release the false. I remember what I am." Chapter 2. The Invisible Invitation. Do you truly believe you stumbled upon this message by accident? The ancient priests of Kemet would say otherwise. They called it the breath behind events, a current that moves the soul long before the mind even notices. This invitation rarely arrives as thunder. It begins as a subtle unrest, a weariness with living half asleep, a quiet question you cannot silence, a discomfort with the borrowed truths you were raised to believe. One by one, old patterns fall away like costumes after the play. People drift from your life like pieces of a puzzle that no longer fit, while others appear as if they had been waiting for you across lifetimes. This is not your imagination. It is the invisible invitation, the stirring of your original frequency. It whispers rather than shouts, but when you follow, it guides you back to the source of your being. Activation. Think of one coincidence in your life that felt too perfect to explain. Breathe deeply and affirm, "I recognize the invisible call." Chapter 3. Symbols that Awaken. The Egyptians never carved symbols to explain. They carved them to awaken. The Eye of Horus was not decoration. It was a mirror, returning your gaze to the one who sees behind the eyes. The lotus was not art. It was the map of rebirth, unfolding from mud into dawn, showing that even in darkness, light insists on rising. The uraeus, the serpent upon the pharaoh's crown, was not ornamental. It was the sign of awakened energy lifting toward the inner sun, igniting the third eye. When you look upon a sacred symbol with true presence, you are not imagining, you are remembering. Symbols do not ask for belief. They bypass the intellect and speak in the silent language of the soul. And the soul understands without words. Key activation. Close your eyes and bring to mind the Eye of Horus. Let it hover in your awareness for a moment. Then whisper within, I remember.
Chapter 4. The Three Portals of Reawakening. The initiates of Egypt did not chase doctrines. They entered portals. Each portal opened only when the soul aligned with a precise vibration. The first portal, vibrational silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of absolute presence. In chambers beneath Saqqara, initiates remained in stillness until the chatter of the mind dissolved. When the mind fell quiet, the soul began to speak. The second portal, the living symbol. Sacred images were never passive. The Eye of Horus, the lotus, the feather of Ma'at, each was a doorway. To contemplate them with reverence was to step across the veil. You do not imagine the symbol, you embody it. The third portal, the hidden name. Every soul carries its Ren Neter, the divine name. Not sound, but frequency. It is not spoken aloud. It is lived through posture, breath, and action. When thought, feeling, and deed align, the hidden name reveals itself as certainty beyond doubt. When silence, symbol, and hidden name converge, the soul does not just awaken, it begins to remember itself through you. Activation. Take one deep breath. Exhale slowly and affirm inwardly, I am the portal.
Chapter 5. How to recognize truth. The ancients of Heliopolis said, your true name is not spoken, it is remembered with the whole being. Truth is not loud. It does not argue. It does not demand. It arrives like the first light breaking through the inner chamber, quiet, steady, undeniable. The world trained you to seek evidence, to measure and debate, but truth reveals itself differently. It comes as a warmth in the chest, a subtle calm that precedes explanation, a softening of breath, as if your body itself recognizes home. Truth does not chain you to belief. It frees you from the need to explain. It is not mental. It is vibrational. And when you meet it, something ancient stirs, like the winged soul of Egypt, the Ba, lifting itself from the body to remember its divine name. Truth does not convince you. It recognizes you. Activation. Place your hand gently over your heart. Take a breath and affirm, if it brings me peace before explanation, it is truth. Chapter 6. The language of your soul's sacred name. The ancients taught that everything in existence has a name, but not every name can be spoken. The most sacred name is not the one you received at birth. It is the Ren Neter, the divine name your soul carried before time began. It is not sound. It is living vibration, a frequency etched into the eternal fabric of creation, unique to your essence. When you vibrate with this name, you do not move closer to God. You remember that you were never apart. The priests of Luxor said, to awaken the hidden name
is to awaken the sleeping God within. But here lies the secret. You do not need to pronounce it with the tongue. The soul does not speak in letters. It speaks through states of being. Your sacred name reveals itself when thought, feeling, and action flow as one. It is not spoken, it is embodied. And when you embody it, life around you rearranges. Coincidence dissolves, and synchronicity takes its place. The universe no longer answers the mask of ego. It responds to the resonance of your Ren. Key: activation. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and whisper inside, "I embody my sacred name."
Chapter 7. The Crossing. In the halls of the afterlife, the Egyptians spoke of a sacred moment before Maat, the goddess of truth. The heart of the initiate was placed upon the scale, balanced against a single feather. But this was never a judgment from the gods. It was an inner alignment. For the heart to be lighter than the feather, all that was not real had to fall away. The masks you wore to be accepted, the roles you performed to be safe, the fears and desires you inherited but never chose. The fire of truth burns all that is borrowed. What remains is only what is eternal, the pure vibration of your being. You do not need to die to cross this threshold. You only need to let die the character that forgot who you are. And then, something subtle but irreversible happens. You stop thinking about spirituality. You begin to embody it in your breath. You stop visiting temples. You realize you are the temple. This is the crossing. And once it begins, life itself can never be the same. Activation. Close your eyes for a moment and whisper inwardly, "I release the mask. I cross as who I truly am."
Chapter 8. Walk as one who remembers. After the crossing, the Egyptian priests did not hand the initiate a new title. They gave them a new rhythm. Because one who remembers does not simply think differently, they move differently. Their walk carries a quiet gravity, not arrogance, but presence. To walk as one who remembers is to live unmasked, to stop asking for permission to be whole, to refuse to shrink into the roles that once kept you safe but small. Every gesture becomes a subtle echo of the inner temple, eating with awareness, breathing as if in prayer, looking as though the divine peers through your eyes. The true test is not remembering in silence. The true test is remembering in the middle of noise, in the marketplace, at work, in the gaze of those who still sleep. That is when remembrance becomes real. Not when you retreat from the world, but when you stand in it and still refuse to forget. To walk as one who remembers is to embody a living light, not seeking to shine, not demanding to be seen, but radiating so naturally that the world begins to harmonize around you. Key activation. Take 3 slow steps where you are. With each step, affirm inwardly, "I remember, I remember, I remember." Chapter 9. The Silent Constellation. Something is happening now, but it is not loud. It is not on the news. It is not trending. And that is why it is real. Across the earth, in quiet corners and ordinary lives, souls are awakening together, not in one temple, but in one frequency. This is the hidden constellation of remembrance. The ancients called them the Shemsu-Hor,
the followers of the Light of Horus. Souls who incarnate across lifetimes with a shared mission to remember and to help others remember too. Perhaps you've felt it, a sense that you are not alone in your awakening, that somewhere others are hearing the same whisper, "Something inside me is waking up." This is the silent revolution. No priesthood controls it, no empire can suppress it, because it is unfolding inside human hearts, beyond reach of systems built to distract and divide. Each time you choose remembrance over forgetting, you strengthen the invisible web that links these awakened souls, a web woven not by force, but by frequency. And that web is growing stronger right now. Key activation. Close your eyes for a breath and feel yourself as one point of light. Whisper inwardly, "I am part of the constellation of awakening."
Chapter 10. The Practice. The priests of Kemet did not demand lifetimes of study. They asked for moments of presence, because presence multiplied day by day becomes eternity. First key, silence. Sit with a straight spine. Breathe 12 slow breaths. Notice the instant when the storm of thoughts softens and the first drop of peace appears before explanation. Second key, the living symbol. Contemplate one sacred image, the Eye of Horus, the lotus opening, the feather of Ma'at. Hold it in stillness until it stops being an object and becomes a doorway inside you. Third key, the Ren posture. Straighten your crown, soften your shoulders, open your chest as if the heart were a sun. Whisper silently, "I align with what I am." This is how the hidden name begins to breathe through you. The technique was never about learning. It was always about remembering in practice. And remembrance becomes real not in isolation, but in the smallest acts of your daily life. Activation. Adjust your posture right now. Take one conscious breath and affirm within, "I walk as a living temple." Chapter 11. The Invisible Oath. The Egyptians called it Heka, not magic as spectacle, but the sacred weaving of word, thought, and being. The true oath was never spoken aloud. It was etched in silence, carried in action, sealed in the way one lived when no one was watching. Every choice was a spell, every gesture an inscription in the unseen scrolls of eternity. A gentle kindness given without witness, a boundary spoken softly but firmly, a pause where anger once lived. This was the oath, to live as remembrance, to embody coherence so deeply that the world itself bends toward harmony. You need not shout your awakening. You need not prove it. Your oath is written in the atmosphere you leave behind. When someone enters your field, when they feel your silence, when they meet your gaze and glimpse their own forgotten light, that is the oath fulfilled. Key activation. Take a quiet breath and decide one small action today that your old self would not have chosen, but your true self will. Whisper inwardly, "This is my oath." Final call. The portal has already opened. If you are still here, it is not chance. It is resonance. Something in you recognized these words before they were spoken. Maybe it came as a whisper. Maybe it surged like fire.
But the call began long before your body, before your name, before this lifetime. What you felt in this journey was not content. It was sacred remembrance. And remembrance does not wish to be admired. It wants to be lived. Do not let this flame fade when the screen goes dark. Anchor it in the visible world. Leave a sign that your soul has awakened. Write in the comments, "I remember," not as a phrase, but as a frequency that travels. And there is one more step. Remembrance is not complete until it is given forward. The Egyptians knew a frequency becomes stronger when it moves from soul to soul. That is why you cannot keep this only for yourself. Share this video, not with everyone, but with someone special to your heart. Someone who has already felt the whisper. Someone who may be waiting for this exact moment of recognition. Because when you share remembrance, you anchor the field. And every new soul who remembers strengthens the silent constellation that is already transforming the world. And if this path calls to you, subscribe, not to follow, but to walk together as silent initiates of the same lineage. The time of waiting is over. The revolution is not loud, it is vibrational, and it has already begun with you. You were never here to learn. You were always here to remember. And remembrance has already begun. Key activation. Think of one person you love. Send them this message with the silent blessing, "May you remember who you are."